Sorry about that. Yeah, so this is just going to be a bit of an overview of a game that we made in October of this year, and our experiences going from a fee-for-service product with a brand in a client relationship, and moving that to a licensing relationship, and the myriad of things that we learned along the way. A bit about me. I'm Ella. I'm a product lead at Mighty Kingdom. I ran the Shopkins World project, and then our other products that we've sort of spun out of that with the same brand. And this was my first game as well, so there's a lot to learn there too. Mighty Kingdom, we're a team of 23 in Adelaide, founded by some ex-console devs when the Chrome sort of shut up shop in 2010, or just before that actually. And yeah, we focus on fee-for-service work. So that's kind of how the relationship with the Shopkins brand came about. Since Shopkins, we're now we started at 10, we're now at 23. So we've been able to grow quite a lot because of the brand. Nowadays, the team is about 15 and working across 5 products. 3 of those are in live ops at the moment, and we've got 2 on the way out, hopefully by Christmas. So what is Shopkins? Has anyone heard of Shopkins? You're aware of them? Well, yeah, the Mighty King team has. It's the kind of thing where if you've heard of it, you've probably got young kids in your life. Super popular brand. It's like a collectible brand. So Shopkins are basically anthropomorphic things that you buy. So like toilet paper, cereal, cookies, food, like tennis rackets, everywhere. And it comes seasonally, so they're sort of a collectible. You get season 1, season 2. They've so far made 6 seasons, with a sort of no sign of stopping. And there's currently 800 to collect, which is quite the challenge. In terms of the brand itself, this is data from June of 2016. It's the #1 doll property. It outsells Barbie and Frozen, which kind of blows my mind a bit. It's the #1 collectibles property. That market share used to be bigger. Since its popularity has triggered a lot of new girls collectible brands, so they've lost a little bit there. But they pretty much created the market, so I don't think they're too concerned. But it's the #1 overall toy property in the US. The only 2 bigger things are Lego and Star Wars. It's the #4 licensed property, and they just won a big licensing award at the Vegas Licensing Expo at the beginning of this year. So we've got 3 products on the market at the moment. Shopkins World is our biggest and sort of most mature product at the moment. We released that in late September of last year, and it's currently had 12 million installs. Shopee Dash is our premium product at the moment, which has also been doing well. And we just at the beginning of this month released Shopkins Chef Club, which is another free-to-play game. That number is probably a little bit out of date at the moment. Probably have done just over 700,000 as of now. And as I said, we've got 2 more on the way. 1 premium, 1 free-to-play. With the view to get it ready for Christmas. So how did we get here? We were initially approached by Moose Toys, who are the manufacturer of Shopkins. They wanted a game to assist with their launch of their Shopee sub-brand. So they sort of saw that Shopkins was a bit of a hit, but they wanted like a doll property to be able to sort of increase the amount of content and things like that. It's a higher price point, obviously, as a doll as opposed to a very small piece of plastic. But it also meant that they could start adding some character and a bit more life into their brand, into their story world. So when we were approaching the game, we knew, #1, that we needed to be really authentic to the brand. There were already fans there. They already had an expectation around what Shopkins is. And we also wanted to mimic the experience of interacting with Shopkins in the real world. So we didn't want that to be sort of changed or feel different. We wanted that to be a very similar relationship between picking up a toy and picking up the game. And we were very fortunate that it comes with kind of an inbuilt gacha mechanic already. Shopkins come in little packs of 2 primarily. That's their #1 seller. And they're blind bags, so you don't know which Shopkins you're going to get. And they have rarities of common, rare, special edition, ultra rare, and limited edition. So that was really good that we sort of didn't have to kind of wedge something in there. We could kind of see the bones of something happening already. That being said, I think one of the big things that we've learned is that it's really hard to appeal to everyone, really. The Shopkins audience, anecdotally, we knew was very, like, the core kids that they're going after are the 6 to 8 audience, but we knew that 4-year-olds are really into it, and we knew 9-year-olds that were really into it. So whilst we decided to position ourselves in the 6 to 8 kids category on the App Store, so we saw there was a really good opportunity there. We really wanted to capture as much of that market as possible. And it's also important to note that at this point, we didn't really know that it was going to be the phenomenon that it is, and also that it had the legs that it had. Collectible toys tend to have sort of a shark fin, and we sort of were wondering, maybe we're already at the peak of that shark fin. We don't know what's happening there. So we wanted to kind of capture as much as we could. So we decided the game was going to be a collection of mini games where you could go into each of these shops and play a different type of mini game, and then unlock a new Shopkin with the coins that you earn from playing that game. So very similar to the toy, where you buy something, you don't know what it's going to be, you sort of keep interacting with it and earn your Shopkins as your reward. And the mini game thing allowed us to sort of have a wide variety of games that we could sort of tailor to appeal to different audiences. So we went sort of as kind of simple as cupcake making for the 4-year-olds in the users. They are really, really popular. There was quite a few on the market already that were doing quite well. But then we sort of went for like a twitchy game for the 9-year-olds that was a bit more sort of straight arcade style gameplay. That was a bit of, as I say, maybe a little bit of a misstep. Kids are way more sophisticated than we thought. Like, they've grown up with games. No one really in the Mighty Kingdom office had an interaction or a family member or a child with the core audience. So we're doing a lot of guesswork there, and we probably didn't really give them as much credit as they deserved. And we've sort of learned since then that they want those kinds of those 2 audiences want really, really different experience from games. Younger players, they really like that open, wide variety of gameplay with sort of like a shallow input. Toka Boca is a really good example of this. You can tap on like everything in the store in life, and that's really engaging for a 4-year-old. But an older player, like a 9-year-old player, is really looking for a deep challenge. They're okay with 1 or 2 core mechanics, but they really want to be challenged, and they want to have sort of like unlock systems and things like that. So we weren't able to really tick every single one of those boxes for every single one of those audience members. And we sort of see this a bit in our retention. We see we have 50% D1 retention, which we're pretty happy with. D7, 15, not as great. And D30 is not as good as it could be. I think this is probably due to what I was saying before, but also, we're competing with so many other brands in the kids category. They've got everything being thrown at them. So I think we sort of suspected that it was going to be difficult to keep that longer term retention. So it's something that we're very mindful of at the moment. So we try and combat that with variety. This is a chart of all of our updates. The top line is our app and ranking data, and it's something to map it against. But every single one of those blue lines is a new minigame update over the last 12 months. So we've been super busy. But you can kind of see there's a bit of a correlation between every time we release an update, we get that re-engagement of kids seeing that the icons changed. They see that there's new stuff to engage with, and also we're very fortunate that they keep making Shopkins, because that means we get more content to put in the games, so there's more stuff for them to unlock. So whilst the brand power is really valuable to us, it means that we don't really get a chance to make a lot of mistakes. we can't really ever soft launch with a Shopkins game, which is, much to my disappointment. We had an experience with the first release of Shopkins where, because the brand was so popular, Toys R Us had a shipment of the new Shopkins on their docks in, I believe it was Southern California. And on the toy packages, it was like, download the new app. But they were sort of thinking, we've got this super hot brand. Why is it not on my shelves? So we got a call from the client saying, can you just release the game now? And this is about 2 weeks out of when we were meant to be releasing. So we kind of just had to do that. We applied for an expedited review on the App Store, which we were very fortunate to receive. I think they were really good in understanding the situation that we were put in. But yeah, so we sort of had to just we sort of launched in complete stealth mode because there was only a few stores that they were in, but it meant that it was out there. They wanted to have something for the kids to go to when they saw it on the package. And this was really interesting. Without any mention that an app existed, we had 5,000 users in the first 24 hours. And then within the next 24 hours, that had risen to 12,500, which kind of illustrates something that I think is really important in the kids category. A lot of it is search-based. We have spent no money on user acquisition. It's all search-based. Obviously, there's auxiliary stuff, there's the package and all of that kind of stuff. But when a kid goes to the store and is looking for a Shopkins product, they're searching Shopkins. So the other thing we learned, we had a lot of users, and that was really cool because I think it was more users than a lot of us had seen on mobile games that we'd released before. But we definitely did the classic noob mistake of just measuring everything. Part of that was I was just interested. That's the kind of person I am. I love that kind of stuff. But also, we wanted to, be able to give some value back to the client and say, this is this is the Shopkins that they're interested in. This is, and also just obviously for regular, see how they're actually using the app that we've built, kind of reasons. But yeah, it was good to be able to give something back to the client, because when you sell through all of your product, they don't actually have a very good idea of what their most popular Shopkins are, because they just sell everything. So we wanted to give them some help there. So it turned out we were sending over 50 million data points a month, which is an incredibly expensive number of data points to send. We were using Mixpanel purely because that's what I had used before. I was most familiar with it. But it was really, really hard to justify continuing to do that when we weren't monetizing at that point. So now we've just reverted to regular measuring. I think we use Unity Analytics and Flurry at the moment. But we did see in this data that the kids were behaving a bit, not strangely, but they were sort of moving against our assumptions. So even though we kind of knew that D1 retention was going to be really good and later retention wasn't going to be as strong, the rest of, as I say, we didn't have time to interact with the audience. We didn't have time to get it in front of them. So we were making some pretty blind assumptions about how they were going to behave with the game, with the metagame. So I kind of went in thinking they'd play about 2 sessions a day for about 7 minutes in total. They were playing 3 sessions a day, 15 minutes total, which meant that I had to completely relook at the economy because they were churning through content. It wasn't actually that bad because they were at that point about 214 Shopkins to collect. So it wasn't like they were sort of putting it away and not thinking about it again. But it did, pose a bit of a challenge. So far, there's been 2,000 years of gameplay in Shopkins. That number's probably grown in the last week or so, as it so often does. But yeah, we're pretty proud of that. So Shopkins had quite a few users, and we had a very popular Christmas. We kind of screwed our servers a little bit because everyone was getting Shopkins for Christmas. So we really wanted to run with it. It seemed like a really, really good opportunity for Mighty Kingdom to do more learning and more development. But Moose are a toy manufacturer and not a games manufacturer, and they really wanted to invest all of their time and effort in running the toy business and the toy brand, which they knew about. So in February, we finalised a licensing deal, which meant that now we were going to monetize via the app rather than receiving a fee for service. So the first thing that we did there was ads. We were fortunate because there was a pretty obvious place for them in our core loop, and we weren't going to need to do a lot of UI or dev or anything there. At the moment, yeah, so now we've got sort of averaging multiple views a session, and 60% of our revenue has come from ads. It's a bit of a skewed number because we didn't have IAP in there until a little bit later, but that's still sort of, you know, how it goes over in terms of our daily numbers as well. So this was another extremely sharp learning curve. So they were interacting with the ads, but there's a few things. And I personally think it's an underutilized opportunity within the market. It's definitely, they're all solvable problems for sure. We know that players, including kids, really love interacting with rewarded video ads. There's just like one or two things you have to think about and sort of understand. Number one is very important, it's compliance, both laws, specific laws within specific regions. The most sort of, the one that we all sort of use is which stipulates certain things about the data that we're allowed to send and receive. In addition to tons and tons of other things, definitely check that out if you're thinking about developing. Really important, but also the platforms very rightly have their own specific rules that they want you to abide by if you're appealing to children. And then there's always the customer relations issues, because it's, you know, we're giving up a bit of control there. We're allowing a advertiser to just, you know, to advertise within our app, and we don't sort of have the yes/no power of that. It's a bit of a secondary thing there. So sometimes you get some not good ads in there. But in terms of compliance, that means that we have to limit our behavioural tracking data. So what that means is that we can't tell an advertiser if a child downloads their app because they watched our ad, which is like kind of super important if you're an advertiser. So that means that our eCPMs are a bit lower than they could be, but you know, I'm not going to begrudge that because that's looking after kids. But also, you know, the Shopkins opportunity is such that we're able to sustain the company even with that kind of dampener on that revenue. It also means a parent gate before you link out of the app with an ad, at least on the App Store. That's, you know, really detailed on the iOS guidelines, developer guidelines and things like that. It's basically a test that the parent needs to pass to prove that they've sort of said, yes, I'm happy to link out of the app. You also have to do that in front of commerce as well. We see that, you know, parents are pretty happy to have their kids interact with ads. We don't really see and anecdotally, that's fine. We have a little button in there that says, hey, this is, or at the beginning of load, it says, you know, we show third-party ads, and if you don't want to see third-party ads, or you don't want your child to see third-party ads, you just turn it off in the settings, and that's where you go. But we don't get a lot of interaction with that button, which is really nice. I think there's an understanding at the moment about what, you know, what mobile games are and what free-to-play is. I think consumers are pretty savvy to that now. But, you know, you're always going to get some bad ads. We have all of our settings in all of our ad providers. We have 4 ad providers. They're all set to the most like lockdown settings, like super hard settings. But that's sort of, you know, open to interpretation if you're an advertiser. We get a lot of mobile strike ads when it's just like Arnold Schwarzenegger walking down a hallway, which is suitable for 8-year-olds. But I don't really want to show an 8-year-old a mobile strike ad, so we sort of manually black them off. And our ad providers and we just kind of rely on parents to say, hey, I saw this ad, I wasn't super pleased with it. We just go and talk to our ad providers and say, are you advertising these guys? If so, turn them off. And then that's really good. I cut any advertiser that I don't feel like takes as seriously as we do. That's something that's really important to us. So yeah, if you're not responding quickly or you're being a bit cavalier about that situation, you're not going to get an email back from me. We did also do IAP. We did IAP in about, I think it was June. We sort of rolled it into a summer update, because that was going to be the beginning of summer holidays. We were kind of expecting quite a bit of engagement there. That being said, we were kind of trying to like add IAP into a game design that was completely free to play to begin with. So it's not, it's not the most super successful IAP going around. We see a less than 1% conversion on it. But, going back to what I was saying, it sustains our company. The license is a bit of a double-edged sword here, because kids, there's like the Shopkins super fans, and they just want to engage with everything Shopkins. Who are our, they're our core audience. They're who we think about when we're designing and things like that. And they do value their digital Shopkins as much as their other Shopkins. For pretty much almost every child, unless you're going to spend $200 on eBay, which some of them might, you probably won't see a limited edition Shopkin anywhere except for the game. That's like your chance to engage with those Shopkins that are super hard to find in real life. But it kind of also means, and I kind of attribute this to maybe some of our not as successful IAP, is that they kind of see the game as an extension of the product, which is really successful for us because that's what we're trying to do. But they kind of feel like maybe they're paying twice for something that is already, that they've already paid for via buying the toy, and it's just sort of a marketing exercise, which, as I say, is good because it kind of technically was a marketing exercise, but it'd be nice if we got a bit more engagement there. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is that if you have a license, you're only really solving one of your problems when it comes to free-to-play. This is my super sophisticated triangle that I've drawn for us all. So to have a good free-to-play game, right, you need great monetization, you need great retention, and you need UA. But all you really solve with the license is UA. You're still going to need great monetization. You're still going to need really good retention to have a really to have a really successful product. That being said, that might sound like a good deal, because UA is, that's kind of something that we would normally rely on a publisher for, perhaps. It's definitely not our core competency at Mighty Kingdom. We've had very limited experience with paid UA and viral UA or anything like that. And we much prefer to focus on making games and increasing our knowledge around free-to-play and things like that, and spend less time of it trying to have a really good ROI on Facebook ads or something like that. It does, however, mean that we have to still, we still have a client, we still have someone we have to go back to and engage with about when we're going to see new content for Christmas or something, or, we have turnarounds, so we can't just chuck out something straight away. We have to have a conversation with the client about stuff. So we have a bit of overhead there. That being said, it's way better than having to do a huge UA campaign. If it's something that we've sort of looked into, like licenses in general, something we've looked into further, I think the vibe, having spoken to a few larger companies, is they really want you to make a game about their license. That's great for them. But they know what they've got. They know that they're solving this really important problem for you. So they don't really want you to, they don't want to pay you for it. They want you to do it. But they will, it means that will be a bit softer on the deal side of things. A good deal is a 70-30 split for 70-30 devs, 30 for them, which is it's a pretty good deal. But they also want a minimum guarantee, which basically says, over the course of this product, you need to guarantee that you will pay us $1 million back at some point, or whatever that guarantee is. Some of them are high six figures, some of them are low seven, some of them are high seven or mid seven, based on whatever that property is. I guess that's kind of a decision that is important to make. I think one trap that I'm really glad that Mighty Kingdom hasn't fallen into is seeing the license opportunity and going, oh, we love that license, therefore everyone else does. I think that's definitely a warning sign to do your research on the actual quality of the brand, not just the company's perception of that brand. So yeah, based on this experience over the last year, we're sort of trying to build kind of like an ecosystem of Shopkins products, and use that UA funnel to feed into our other Shopkins brands. Because you've got a Shopkins fan, they love everything Shopkins. So we're trying to take advantage of that as much as possible. So we do cross promotion within all of our games, and we funnel our paying players to premium titles. So one of the ways that that's like super easy to effectively measure this is just like iTunes Connect campaign links. They're really, really good. We just put our cross promotion link to be that campaign link, and we get a lot of data back very quickly from it. This is a graph of our premium products revenue. See if you can guess when we started cross-promoting. So I think we were incredibly surprised. That sort of red bubble at the beginning is some featuring. But yeah, that's sort of the power that can have. So I think, my suspicion is that would work for any kind of title, if you have a brand that's very similar, or if you have a game, your own IP that's very similar and works across players. We haven't done that yet. I'll definitely come back next year and let you know if we do. But based on this kind of proof of cross-promotion working, this is kind of what we're looking for 2017, for January 2017. So we've got our big, wide, free-to-play funnel at the top, and then hopefully another premium title, and that's our sticker app as well in there, which isn't a game, so I haven't talked about it. That's kind of where we're looking to be at the moment. I think if you had said to us, this is the power of Shopkins, we would have laughed in your face and then quietly shut ourselves because we didn't know what we were going to be getting ourselves into. But I think, I would definitely encourage anyone who has the means to seek a license, because it can allow you to focus on so many other things in your company development, and also just is kind of fun to work with awesome art and characters and stuff like that. So yeah, thanks so much. Is there any questions or anything at all?
Yeah, you spoke about the challenges of working with the difference between younger kids and older kids.
Mm-hmm.
Have you actually developed any specific strategies in trying to retain the children as just the older?
Yeah, part of that is the Shoppies brand. That was a direct response from them to going, all right, our audience is aging up. It's way easier to try and keep an audience rather than just have to continually regenerate it. So I think moving ahead, we're doing a lot of, we're sort of focusing on Shoppies as well as the Shopkins. We have done that. We obviously that was our kind of the choice behind that premium product being a Shoppies thing as well. And that had sort of more difficult gameplay in it as well. And was level based. It's got 75 levels or something at the moment. And we've also have Chef Club. It was also kind of a response of there's tons of moms who love casual games, so let's try and make something for them as well as their kids. That was a bit of a challenge because we had a very short window to develop that for. That was for the season 6 release, and we were focusing on trying to make Shopkins World be a thing. So yeah, I think we definitely learned from that as well. I think Chef Club does have better retention than Shopkins World, so I can't tell you that. It's only very early in the stages there, so I can't tell you exactly what those are off the top of my head, but yeah, it's sort of definitely been a thing that we're looking at. That being said, I think the thing that I find with brands, when you're talking to brands, is they have a very different perception of what their audience is versus what it actually is. So we try and, that's a conversation that we manage as well. I think we don't want to get pushed back on saying this is too hard or something like that. That being said, they have played games and been like, this is too hard, and then they see kids just nailing it. So yeah, that's something else that's yeah, worth keeping in mind when we're developing for kids.
Sorry, can you hear me? My voice is
Yeah, no, okay.
Thanks for the presentation. I thought it was super valuable.
Oh, cool.
One of your earlier slides, you had like a short white tee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can.
Thanks for that.
No worries.
Almost there. I'll keep talking.
Yeah.
All right. I was just curious. It sounds perfectly right. The drastic age difference at that age. You know how their minds change so much. Do you, per COPA compliance and such, are you allowed to ask the parent to put in the age of the kid? Or are you just letting them go?
I mean,
these must be the 9-year-olds playing this. And this
yeah, this is, that slide is based on like observation within the market, definitely not our user data or anything like that. Our approach to COPA is, I mean, it's perfectly fine to say, you know, what's your age? Because if they go, I'm 47, at that point I'm going to be like, prove it with a parent gate. But it's the kind of thing where I think if the FCC called me up tomorrow and said, you know, are you COPA compliant? It's the kind of thing where I don't, or, you know, are you engaging children that are under the age of 13? There's no way I can say no to that. Like, I could make a tower defense game and it's still Shopkins, so it's going to appeal to that audience, and we're going to get a lot of those users. They probably won't hang around for a very long time, but that's still the case. So we, yeah, basically aim for compliance in all of our...
I also, I guess, I've poorly asked, but are you trying to, they have access to all the games? It's not like you try to divert them based on what they like more?
No, not really. I think it's yeah, I'm less keen to sort of dictate what a child is allowed to do and whatnot. I think the other thing that we hear about is that some of those kids really like the cupcake game and they're 10. So it's sort of, it's just kind of something that we think about. I think when you're trying to appeal to, especially a child, and you're trying to say, this is what you like, they read that from a mile away. So it's sort of trying to be a bit more kind of letting them make those choices for themselves, I think, yeah. Cool. Anyone else? Oh, yeah, hey.
I don't know if you'll be able, I want to answer all of this, but are you able to kind of touch on how you sort of reached out to Moose or, you know, built that sort of thing?
Yeah, so they actually reached out to us, which is like getting a phone call from the lottery and saying you didn't buy a ticket, but would you like some money? Yeah, so that kind of was an interesting one. They had reached out to some other developers in Adelaide who don't do fee-for-service, so they passed us on. It's something that we feel like we've learned a lot from this, and we have a lot to offer other brands. So it's something we're looking out for. I think the toy business specifically, a bit sort of, as I say, it's not their core business. They're not afraid, but they're aware of the complexities. Like we all know, it's really hard to make a game. They kind of don't want to get their toes in that water. So a lot of what happens is through a licensing agent. So if you want to do something like this, I definitely recommend reaching out to a licensing agent who is like, yeah, I work with Ninja Turtles or something like that. Yeah, that's kind of, I would imagine the way it would go for us even next time if we wanted to do something. No worries. Cool. All right. Thanks so much, guys.